Did you know that the stock of Tesla is expected to reach $1,100 very soon? Considering the company's recent stock market performance, this would appear improbable. To learn more about this, stay watching and tuning in. A projection among seemingly unachievable ambitions for the price of Tesla shares indicates that the stock will soon be valued at $1,100. Naturally, these forecasts could turn out to be accurate or inaccurate, but at this point in time, it is impossible to know for sure because there are so many variables influencing the economy, which in turn affects stock prices. You can see why it is expected that Tesla stock will hit $1,100 in today's video. The benchmark funds rate was raised by the Federal Open Market Committee to a range of 1.5 to 1.75%, the highest level since shortly before the COVID-19 epidemic started in March 2020. In what amounts to the most aggressive rate hike since 1994, the Federal Reserve launched its largest offensive against inflation to date by hiking benchmark interest rates by 3/4 of a percentage point. Fed Chairman Jerome Powell stated, "Obviously, today's 75 basis point increase is an exceptionally large one, and I do not expect moves of this size to be common." However, he went on to say that he anticipated a 50 to 75 basis point hike at the July meeting. Meeting by meeting, decisions will be made, and the Fed will keep expressing its goals as plainly as possible. "We need to see progress because inflation cannot decrease unless it levels out," Powell continued. "We might react if we don't see any improvement. We'll start to notice some improvement soon." According to one often cited metric, FOMC members signaled a significantly stronger path of rate hikes ahead to arrest inflation, advancing at its fastest pace, going back to December 1981. The midpoint of each member's target range indicates that the Fed's benchmark rate will end the year at 3.4%. This represents a 1.5 percentage point upward revision from the projection for March. Subsequently, the committee projects that the rate will increase to 3.8% in 2023, a full percentage point more than the March projection. This year's inflation estimate, which is based on personal consumption expenditures, increased to 5.2% from 4.3%. Core inflation, which takes into account the fast-growing costs of food and energy, is projected to be 4.3%, up just 0.2 percentage points from the previous estimate. With core PCE inflation of 4.9% in April, Wednesday's predictions call for a reduction in price pressures in the upcoming months. Despite increasing inflation, the committee's statement presented a generally positive view of the economy. According to the committee's summary of economic projections, inflation is expected to drop significantly in 2023 to 2.7% in the headline and 2.6% in the core, with no change from March's estimates. In the long run, the committee's policy view is pretty close to what the market anticipates, with many rises expected to push the funds rate up to roughly 3.8%, the highest level since late 2007. Large companies like Tesla may experience a breakout or breakdown as a result. With a 1.7% gain, Tesla's stock is currently trading at $711.12. Even though Tesla's stock appears to be rebounding from its recent decline, predicted inflation could still have an impact on it. Analysts' opinions diverged when Tesla revealed the amount of deliveries, which was less than anticipated. While some raised their target price for Tesla, others dropped it. While analysts at Deutsche Bank continue to see promise for Tesla, JPMorgan has opted to lower their price objective for the company. Analyst at Deutsche Bank Emmanuel Rosner predicts that Tesla will surpass $1,000 this year. As Rosner stated in an interview with CNBC's Closing Bell Overtime, "I think a lot of the concerns about Tesla have been around the ability to produce, or essentially, the supply side." He continued by saying that the majority of the second quarter's difficulties were expected given that Shanghai's COVID shutdowns were the cause of them. According to Rosner, the quantity of deliveries made by Tesla was actually higher than anticipated and in line with what the street was essentially looking for. He continued, "Pretty robust execution despite those challenges." Rosner also discussed their continued optimism for Tesla. He remarked, Tesla basically declared in its press statement that June was the greatest quarter and month in history in terms of output. This indicates that some of these production problems are actually being lapped. China has resumed its course. He claimed that the second half is especially promising now that the factories are operating normally. The corporation is retooling Shanghai at the moment in order to increase capacity by an additional 300,000 units. Additionally, it's increasing the quantity. Emmanuel Rosner responded that they can monitor the wait periods for a car once a reservation has been made using their current data when questioned about his opinions on the concern over the rate of demand given the possibility of a worldwide recession. Whenever the model is, whatever the geography, you would have to wait several months, often into 2023, to get your Tesla, he added, adding that wait times had not decreased in most situations. He claims that even though Tesla raised prices 10 times in 2021 and again several times in 2022 to keep up with inflation, there hasn't been any indication as of yet of any kind of impact on demand. Actually, there are a lot of things about Tesla to be excited about, including the much-anticipated Cybertruck. In 2019, Tesla Incorporated unveiled the Tesla Cybertruck, a light-duty truck powered solely by batteries. The outside shell of the Cybertruck is designed for maximum durability and passenger safety. Beginning with an almost impenetrable exoskeleton, every part, from Tesla's armored glass to the structural skin made of ultra-hard 30x cold-rolled stainless steel, is made for exceptional strength and endurance. The Cybertruck is the most potent tool that Tesla has ever produced, capable of carrying up to 3,500 pounds and including an adjustable air suspension system. Designed with a sturdy enough to stand on magic tonneau cover and 100 cubic feet of external lockable storage. Aside from this, the two Tesla products that people are eagerly anticipating are the Semi and Optimus, a humanoid robot. Regarding Tesla's critical price points, they are presently in the $700-$800 range. It can either explode or collapse severely. It is anticipated to fluctuate in price between $650 and $700. Keep in mind that this is only an estimate of the EV company's short-term price. The possibility of inflation and a worldwide recession appear to be the two most significant risks to the stock market. Fed policymakers are beginning to reduce their enormous bond portfolio, which totals over $9 trillion, at a rate that will cap at $95 billion each month, in an effort to make 2022 an even busier year. The biggest danger, though, is that the U.S. central bank hurts the economy even more in an already fragile state, where consumer inflation is at its highest level since the early 1980s. Inflation is also caused by shortages and bottlenecks in the supply chain, which the Fed cannot directly regulate by hiking interest rates. Though you shouldn't immediately take off the training wheels, the economy no longer needs them, according to Ryan Sweet, Senior Director of Economic Analysis at Moody's Analytics. The Fed must take it slow with this. This year is going to be extremely difficult. Thus far in 2022, markets have also been tense as investors grapple with the increasing threats of recession. The Chicago Board Options Exchange's index measuring market volatility has increased by 46% this year, while the S&P 500 has decreased by over 14% thus far. Although that was before the Department of Labor's Consumer Price Index revealed that prices had risen to a new 40-year high of 8.6% in March, Fed policymakers expected inflation as of March drifting down to 4.3% later this year. The next month saw a slowdown in price rises, with gains of 8.3% over the previous year. However, as petrol prices surged to a new record high in May and June, they peaked at $4.96 per gallon on June 8. They may go up again. Although there will likely be some decline in inflation when the pandemic and supply chain delays pass, there is also a good chance that inflation will persist longer due, in part to the COVID-19 lockdowns that are still in place overseas and the current crisis in Ukraine. According to Greg McBride, CFA, Chief Financial Analyst at Bankrate, we are not going to get back to 2% inflation with persistent supply chain disruptions and a war in Europe disrupting commodity markets. No amount of rate hikes is going to overcome either of those. It is therefore hoped that when interest rates rise, supply-side problems would also start to ease. Check out our other videos on our channel for more information about Tesla stocks.